We have actually 2 review days. So we have a review day today, we have a review day Monday. So the question I always ask is, what do I need to do today to perform at a high level tomorrow? So this is all about kind of refining those skills from the unit, and so you can do well on Tuesday. So I go through these exam tips every time, but they're still important. Just remember, for taking photos of your work and uploading them, use that browse my computer right in Blackboard. These still apply. These exam tips were from first semester, right? We talked about them in reference to differentiation, but now we need to kind of talk about them in reference to integration. So same thing. If you have a calculator or a lot of question, they are going to give you some off the wall, really difficult thing. You actually could do a U sub on this. You really could, but seriously, you have a calculator. They don't want you to. Don't try, please. Don't spend your time doing it. Okay, they want you to do a Math 9 if they're going to ask you to integrate this. Okay, remember that we're looking at this from an integration standpoint now. So if this is in the integrand, we are saying it's the derivative, right? And so we have a couple of approaches. We can do a Math 9 from the calculation screen. We can graph this, and to look for characteristics in the antiderivative, right? When the function is, when this would be positive, what's happening to the antiderivative? Ooh, crickets. Now I'm nervous. What was the question? Okay, so if we are going to put this into the integrand, right? Give me a second to think about that, right? We have an integral statement and it's in the integrand. And we say, hey, I'm going to graph this. And I am looking and I see that this graph is positive in this domain. What is the antiderivative doing? What is a positive derivative telling us? Antiderivative is increasing. What if, again, this is in the integrand, so we know it's the derivative. What if this is negative? What is it telling us about the antiderivative? Decreasing. What if I have the spots where it's crossing the x-axis? So this is now 0. What possible characteristics could I have? Max or min, right? If it's going from positive to negative, what do I have? Max, right? Positive derivative to negative derivative. If it's going from negative to positive, I have min, right? What if it goes from positive, hits that x-axis and goes back positive? Yeah, it's a plateau, right? Positive derivative, 0, positive derivative, possibly, point of inflection. Right, we'd have to look at some other things more in depth, and I don't want to go into them. I don't want to start muddying the waters as we're just kind of talking conceptually. It's a lot going on there. Okay, so that's how we're going to use our calculator. Okay, we're not going to try to integrate this all on our own. The no calculator free responses, this is a U sub, right? What would U be in this case if I tried to integrate this? Yep, U would be x squared, and then we do du dx to get rid of this. Okay. These would all be, or not all be, this would just be a reversal of the power rule. This could be a U sub, but we could also integrate this without doing all the U sub steps. Anyone want to venture what the antiderivative of sine of pi x is without all the steps? Negative cosine pi x over pi. right? That's where we're dividing by the derivative of the inside instead of multiplying like we did last semester. And this is also can be done quickly, but we could use a u sub 2. Does anybody want to venture a antiderivative here? E to the negative x divided by -1, right? That's the derivative of negative x, right? Divided by -1, because if we call this u, its derivative is -1, right? If we, going back to the sine function, if we call this u, its derivative is pi, right? And then we can go through all the u sub steps. We know we end up dividing by that derivative. So those are the quicker ones. So we got to reverse those derivative rules. I should have said integrals are getting more complicated. Expect it, and this is actually, I do want to change that because that's all pertaining to last unit. How about integrals or antiderivatives? How about antiderivatives? Antiderivatives are getting more complicated. Expect not the chain rule, but expect what? What's the integration equivalent to the chain rule? Nope. That'd be just a reverse derivative rule. Yeah, what's the integration equivalent to the chain rule, right? Chain rules for differentiating. When we integrate, we call it the what? You do it without thinking about it. What did we just talk about up here? With these two functions. Okay, what do we talk about with this function? Doing what? When we integrate it. Maybe I'm not asking you this in the best possible way. You would look at this, if I asked you to integrate this, you would look at this and say, oh, I have to do okay, but what do we call it when we integrate? We call it something different. And I know you know this, which means I'm just not asking the question really that well. What would be your first step in integrating this? What was your first step? Oh, I thought you did. I thought you said something. Okay. Take out a piece of scratch paper. Sometimes I just, epic fail when I ask a question. No, wait a minute. I can do it this way. What if I do this? Come on. There we go. Come on. Is it not? It's a picture? Oh, fail. Insert equation. I'm going to put it down here because apparently I pasted a picture. That's a total epic fail on my part. I wanted to put in one of these, right? I want to ask you to do this. X sine x squared dx equals. What's the first thing you're going to do? All right. Okay. 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 You're going to need that. How come? X to the second is inside, right? We're talking about a composite function. Okay, so expect what in the integration sense, not a chain rule, but a U sub. There we go. Did that make a little more sense? A little bit, like, you know, we would do a lot of chain rules first semester, right? And now we're going to see a lot of U sub, and so these U subs for sine and e to the minus x, because of that linear inside function, we talked about that a little earlier this week, right? Those, you don't have to do all the U sub steps. You know, we're just dividing by that derivative, because that's what we get when we do the U sub. When it's more complicated, like this, then we know that that we got to go through those U sub steps so that we can get that x to cancel out. Jane.
So the U sub is just like undoing.
Yep. Yep. U sub in every one. In fact, let me just put that. It undoes the chain rule or reverses the chain rule. You know, we're talking about reversing derivative rules, right? We're just doing that reversal. Sorry, that was more drawn out than it needed to be. Maybe I should have been a little more blunt. Slideshow, current slide. Okay. Oh, whoops, before we leave this slide, down here, you remember these answer forms are still okay. Okay, and in particular, maybe I should change this. It's probably a screenshot though. You know, if you answer like when you have a definite integral and you plug in the upper bound, and then you subtract and you plug in the lower bound, and you want to just leave it like that with all the numbers there, fine. Don't bother simplifying it. Okay. Obviously, if it's a multiple choice, you're going to have to get it, you know, to a point where you recognize the answer. But if it's a free response, just go ahead and plug in the upper and lower bound and leave it. It's up to the grader to simplify it. That's the way we grade them in June when we grade the AP exams. Okay, so general announcements, Unit 6. It's actually not the next class. It's Tuesday. Same format. I don't change that because it's all old AP stuff. Just a heads up, free response. The no calculator has 4 parts. The calculator this time has 3 parts, just to help you budget your time. I'm still keeping the time on the test, but it won't close automatically. I do that all the time just to watch your time. Remember, we're supposed to be doing these in about 30 minutes. Okay, but we also know that really the AP calculus exam is never really meant to be finished in its entirety. If you can get through about 75% of the exam and get the vast majority of that correct, you are sitting at a 5. So, you know, you really got to go after the stuff you know well. I'm going to display all questions at once, just like always. Here's a few things that are specific to the exam, okay? There's going to be a candidates test application. They love this sort of question, okay? Like, and it's like your review number 2B, okay? The review in the packet you have right now, it's like number 2B. I'm going to ask you to do a tangent line approximation question, right? We gotta write our equation for our tangent line right here. Okay. And then you're going to have that. You're going to have y equals some number slope times quantity x minus another number plus another number. And then you're going to use that as an approximation. As an approximation equation, so you can be able to plug in a value for x and get an approximate y. And then there's going to be an intermediate value theorem. Okay, they like those. Remember, we have those 3 big theorems, and the intermediate value theorem is right up here at the end of the row, right above Chris' top row. So you know they love these things like, hey, can I have this value within this domain, that sort of thing, right? So just know that you're going to see those on Tuesday. Where's my cursor? There we go. And then I'll get Unit 7 day 1 notes up by exam day. Still working on those. Yeah. The candidates test is like, what is my absolute max or what is my absolute min? Okay, so you remember going back, good question, going back to this conversation about, hey, if this is in the integrand and I can look at the graph, I can see where the function's increasing, decreasing, I can see where my maxes and mins might be, okay? And then the candidates test is when you have a domain, definite beginning, definite end, okay? So now what you're gonna have in this candidates test is you're gonna have a table. And in that table is gonna be the beginning and the ending X value, and all of those locations where the integrand was zero, because that tells us the derivative was zero, could be a max or a min. Does that make sense? And then you're going to create all the y or all the function values. So you're going to need to know the antiderivative. Okay. And you're going to have to create all those function values. Does that make sense? And then we're going to just literally scan the table, see which one's the biggest and which one's the littlest. Okay. Good question. Any other questions? Okay. Where am I? I guess I'm here. So just preparation sort of things, do the free response packet, do them several times, right? We're training here, we're getting our fluidity, our efficiency here. Do the progress checks in College Board for multiple choice practice, review previous quizzes, redo circuits or redo the topic questions, keep these handy based on our discussion earlier. I think it was Wednesday, right? Definitely do a review summary sheet. I just really feel like that's going to benefit you in May. I think they're leaning that way. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm right. Okay, so that's it. So, pardon me? Well, with what College Board has announced in terms of testing formats in May, they're still having a virtual option. They're still having an electronic option. I can't really see them curtailing the use of calculators and notes. So I think they are going to let you do that. I could be totally wrong. We have some options, but they have to decide that either as a school or as a district as to which option is going to be chosen. Yeah, it's either the normal date, which was May 2nd, I think. Yeah. For calculus. I don't know what it is for stats. Or it was like maybe 2 weeks later, or it was like in the middle of June. They have three options, but that's beyond our control. That's either at a building or a district level. I'm not quite sure who's deciding that. They wouldn't. I doubt it. The middle of June is for those schools that, yeah, that there are some schools that didn't open in September across the country. I think, I don't know. It would be nice if we had the middle one so that we had some more time, but I don't know. I'm not sure what they're going to decide. But then that's a district or a building level. I gotta imagine it's a district level thing, actually. It's certainly not my decision. Yeah, it's certainly not my decision. Okay, so go ahead and start working on your review materials. If you've got missing con, I've WebExed you just as a reminder. Let me know how I can help out. Home crew, let me know if you have any questions throughout the process. And we will rinse and repeat on Monday for more review time. I will be here in the space. I'm just going to stop the recording.